by others as well. Whatever standards he sets, the world follows. Therefore, this is human nature, because people are imitative by nature. Whatever a great person does, then others will do that as well. Shri Krishna is telling Arjun that he is great, and when he's talented and he's excellent in what he does, and now that he's reached this state, this war is his responsibility. When you look at it, at society, you'll see that 99% of people are imitative of whatever you call it, be it manners, socializing, maintaining the status quo, fashion. What is fashion? You see a model on a runway or an actress wearing a certain dress, then everyone tries to get it or forms a line outside the tailors to get the exact same copy. This is becoming imitative to an ideal and ideals, and this will forever be there in society. Society always makes someone their ideal and lives their lives by this standard. A child is imitative by nature, and this habit stays with us from childhood. A child learns everything by looking and observing. Yad yada chariri shesta. In ancient India, children used to play while chanting the word Om. When children were babies, the word Om was chanted to them into their ears. Nowadays, they're used to hearing jingles, because that's what's put in front of them. They follow the standard that's put in front of them and pick up whatever they see nearby, which they imitate. It is human nature to follow these great people. People imitate what manners reputed people present. Shri Krishna is trying to say that if reputed people have a responsibility to perform great deeds. If you have advanced in society in any way, be it financially, socially, by wisdom, by power, or any other way, then it is your responsibility that your behavior should be great. Such a person must protect and keep clean their reputations, because people follow them. If a person earns money through the wrong means, then 5 people close to him will say that he has made money in that way. They will feel that they have to do it because he did it. Once these 5 people start doing the wrong thing, then 50 people will imitate these 5 people. Therefore, wrong deeds will be spread by geometric progression in society. Everyone will start doing it. Important people in society have a very big responsibility. If God has put you in such an important position, then think that you must have done some good deeds to be in that position, and at the same time it is our responsibility, because many people's lives are now linked to ours. Thinkers give a very beautiful example. If a person's watch breaks and the hand goes, then the watch stays in the same position. If someone's watch breaks, then it's not much of a problem, because the worst case scenario, he will miss the train. But what if a clock on the town's tower breaks? What if Big Ben breaks? Well, not that many people follow Big Ben anymore, but you get the message. So many people will miss their trains. Therefore, when one wristwatch breaks, then it's not so much of a problem, but if a clock tower breaks, then it's a very big problem. Great personalities are like the clock on the tower. Many people look at them and find out their time. If it breaks, then what happens? If there is a big problem in society, then it is that all the big towers are broken, or broken clocks are made into towers. Who does society follow? Hero worshipping is a nature of society. However much you tell people to stop hero worship, they will still do it. It is in their blood. It is human nature. It's not as if I'm criticizing hero worship, but society can only develop when people in a position of heroes do good deeds, or when society puts people in a position of heroes when they're rightly deserving to be in such a position. Are the heroes who people are imitating today deserving to be in this position? Psychologists say that the biggest problem in society at the moment is the identity crisis. People do not know who they are, and people are not in the position of people they are trying to be. When Guruji was studying at Elphinstone College in Mumbai, then there was a display in his library called Greatest Elphinstonians, who graduated from the college and earned themselves good names in society. There were photos of all these people. When Guruji joined the college aged 16, it's very natural that it feels like a big change from school, It's university, it's called college in India. And one goes to explore around the college. When Guruji went to the library, then he saw all these photos and saw the names of the people, their years of graduation and their achievements. If Guruji has not forgotten, then the photos were there until approximately 1950 or 1955. After that, there were no photos. There must have been reason for it, but Guruji started thinking about why more photos were not put up there and why they stopped at 1950 or 1955. Is it because there was no great Elphinstonian after 1955 that was deserving of having the photo on that display? Then Guruji started thinking beyond the display and about society, the country and the world. These photos give us an ideal. When you come to the college, then they tell us who we are following on from and that we are going to the same college that all these great people went to. You get an ideal, and that is why those photos are there. In ancient times, who were ideals? In the Vedas, there were stories of rishis. When you hear old stories, they tell us what the rishis were like. Wisdom was their ideal. Then after some time, stories of kings started, for example, kings that won many wars, that were very brave, and bravery became the ideal. These ideals kept changing in history. The ideals of the king stayed for a long time, and the rishis were sometimes idolized too. Then when the Bhakti movement started around 700 years ago, these saints became the ideal. Whatever family a person was born in, then if he became a great devotee and then did prayers of God, he was idolized. When they do prayers in Maharashtra, then they say God's name last. They say Eknath Dev Nam Pukaram, Ognan Dev Muktabai, Eknatham De Tukaram, Eknath Tukaram, all saints of Maharashtra, which are the names of saints. Saints became the ideal. Then, for 150 years, India fell under slavery, and the freedom fighters that tried to free the country from slavery of the British Empire became our ideals. The elders who are watching this video remember that people such as Gandhiji were idealized. When Gandhiji wore a loincloth, then millions of people would do so as well. People burnt their nylon clothes because Gandhiji did so. Subhash Chandra Bose was idealized. When Nehru wore a hat and rose, and thousands of people wear a hat and rose, and it became a fashion, the hat and the rose. These were the ideals of society. When India achieved independence, then these ideals changed again. Politicians no longer became important. 55 years ago, sportsmen became the ideals. When you went to hostels and colleges, then people had big posters of sportsmen, such as footballers and cricketers. It was fine until then. In the last 35 years, it has gone downhill. Who's become our ideals? Come on. Actors and actresses. They do their hair in a certain way, and so we have to do our hair in a certain way. They colour their hair in a certain way, and so we have to colour our hair in that way. We are seeing the consequences of this nowadays. It is right in front of society, and we don't need to look anywhere else. If you see an ideal person, then you do not have to do anything but make them the ideal person. You tell children that they have to be like these people. This is the only way to pour good manners and culture into children. If you want to make children effective, which is very necessary in society, then your ideal must first be good. If you get up every day and sit for half an hour to do worship and devotion, then if not tomorrow, your son or daughter will also sit down and do so as well. Because they see the ideal of the mother or the father sitting down every day to do worship and devotion, and this means that they should do it as well. People always come to Guruji and tell him that our parents were so well cultured and used to do prayers and devotion every day, and had a photo of Gandhiji in the house, and the whole atmosphere of the house was one of devotion and patriotism. We got busy, and when we were working, all of this got forgotten. Why then has it now been awakened in us? This is because these good things were practiced when they were children. If they were not practiced when they were children, then maybe it might not have been awakened. Therefore, first, if you have a great ideal, then your children will have so too. And secondly, Guruji says from experience that one should give children biographies to read. They should read the biographies of great personalities. They will learn a lot from this. Even today, Guruji enjoys reading a certain types of books. He enjoys reading a certain types of books the most, it's biographies. He always likes reading the biography of someone who's been successful. He's made a list of all the people whose biographies he's read. He's even read Hitler's biography, Mein Kampf, translated into English from German. He's read all the common great biographies and he enjoys reading about them. Guruji recently read the biography of A.U. Gupta. You may have heard of this. A lot of business people also read. You get to learn a lot from this. Read the life stories of people who have been successful. Give them to children and tell them stories about them. Then the children will become great and you will even get some inspiration in life yourself. Not only do we get to learn from them, but we are also learning from them. When we are learning something great, then wrong things immediately get wiped out from our minds. When right things do not come into our view, then people will only pick up wrong things. And this is the biggest problem in society today. There are no ideals in society. A Gujarati poet has written this very beautifully and playfully, that Have to kas te darpan thaya yuvan ne ekbar arpan fakt chori ane chariya tore shanjar baki che yuvan nichar rakfari shir par var na gucha fakt najuk page janjar taro janjar te baki che. Most of you did not understand, so I'll translate. When you walk behind two youths, then you will not be able to tell which one's the boy and which is the girl, because they have the exact same hair. Boys have grown their hair longer and girls have cut their hair shorter. Therefore both will become the same. Now boys just have to wear anklets near their feet and they'll be completely similar. Who is the ideal? Give children an ideal. Shri Krishna is telling Arjun he is a well-known warrior. He's saying that Arjun must be careful because he is some people's hero and some people's ideal. If Arjun runs away from the battlefield, then what will happen to society? It is a nature of society that if one does not digest somebody's good quality easily, then he'll digest someone else's fault very quickly. Because it is very easy to have faults and it is very easy to fall down, but it is very hard to climb up. Whenever people see a fault in a great, famous or important person, then they immediately catch that and use that to justify their own faults. They get the support for bad things that they are doing. They're saying that the person they are following is doing it as well. If the grandfather is sitting there smoking cigarettes, then what will the children do apart from smoking cigarettes? Smoking cigarettes is a bad quality, but the grandfather may have a good quality like performing worship, penances or good deeds that he has done, but the children will not see the penance of the good deed, they will just smoke these cigarettes. Children do not understand the underlying cause from inside. This verse must be understood in terms of mass psychology. People are followers usually. There are two influences that act on any act that a leader does. Internal and external. The external influence can be seen and the internal influence cannot be seen. Therefore, few people can understand the reason why someone is doing something. People can see what's happening on the outside and they just follow this. That is why politicians have a very big responsibility. I'll give you an example of this. During the time of the British Empire, Gandhiji was the ideal for many people. In 1920, Gandhiji began the non-cooperation movement against the British. When he started this, that his intentions were very noble and they were geared towards non-violence and peaceful non-cooperation. However, common people were not able to understand this. Therefore, violence broke out in the non-cooperation movement. A police station was set on fire. When this news reached Gandhiji, then he felt very sad in his heart, and the first thing he did was to end the non-cooperation movement. He withdrew it. Why? At that time, Gandhiji wrote that he thinks that the common man does not understand non-violence and satyagraha in their true meanings. When Gandhiji began the non-cooperation movement, then there were two reasons for this. His internal reason was very clear in his mind and his intentions were very noble. But what did people see on the outside? Society was turned towards violence. Gandhiji had to publicly accept this. He thereafter started non-cooperation again, but this time only at a personal level. If Gandhiji thought that a person had understood non-violence and the principles of satyagraha properly, then he would make him a satyagrahi. He would then begin the non-cooperation movement at a personal level. The first Satyagrahi under this movement was Vinoba Bhave. He's written one of the most authentic English commentary on the Gita. Gandhiji knew that Vinoba Bhave understood the true meaning of it. The masses did not understand it. Shri Krishna is telling Arjun here that he may be talking big things about the laws of the family being destroyed and irreligiousness increasing, as Arjun did in the first chapter of the Gita, but this is Arjun's personal influence. But if he flees the battlefield now, then what will the soldiers on his side think? Would he be able to go to everyone and explain that he is leaving the war, but they should go to war because they do not have their loved ones on the other side? How many people will he be able to tell this to? Arjun would not be able to do this. If Arjun fled the battlefield, then it would be of great detriment to their side. Look how much Shri Krishna understands psychology. People follow what important people do on the outside. A person that patiently makes efforts, treads carefully before doing anything, and thinks independently. However, the common man is not like this, and he is dependent. In fact, imitation is a sign of dependency. Sheep follow one sheep, and another follows them, and another follows them all blindly. They just follow what other sheep do. A lion, on the other hand, walks alone. I'm not saying that what they are doing is wrong. Sheep is a sheep, and they'll definitely follow each other. The majority of society is imitative. Dependent people follow faults very easily because it is very easy. A father and his son sit down every morning for half an hour to do jap of Sandhya and Gayatri mantra. One time, the father has to go away to do some important work and only does jap for 15 minutes. He got up and left. The son saw that his father got up in 15 minutes. Therefore, on the second day, the son got up in 15 minutes. The father got up after doing jap for half an hour and asked the son why he left so early. The son said that it was because the father left 15 minutes yesterday, that today he told himself that he had to go away for some important work. While the father had got up early, until the father had not got up early, the son did not even have the thought that it was possible to get up early. But as soon as the father got up, then the son did not even think about whether the father really had some urgent work to do. The son only saw that the father has gotten up. Because the father got up, the son thought that one could get up early. Then urgent work becomes a relative term. A person himself decides what urgent means, and no one else can decide this for him. If, for instance, you do not deliver your clothes to the tailor by 9:30 a.m., then you will not sew them by midday on that day, then this becomes an urgent job for you. You might get up and stop job for this. The word urgent depends on the person, and people pick up faults easily. Therefore, leaders have a very big responsibility. Shri Krishna is bringing out the leader of Arjun and giving him some inspiration for it. He is reminding Arjun that he is a leader of the society. In a village, when a farmer is driving a bull cart, the bull cart will collect grass in the cart and bring it back home for the day in the evening. He feels very tired and he falls asleep in the cart. The bull has a habit of pulling the cart and therefore pulls it all the way home. It does not make any difference to the bull whether the farmer is sleeping or not. A farmer riding a bull cart can fall asleep, but can the pilot of a Boeing 747 riding a plane at 500 miles per hour fall asleep? No, he can't, because he's got a very big responsibility. Therefore, a person must first see how far ahead he has come in society, and also how many people are following, and therefore his responsibility keeps increasing the more he comes ahead in society and the more people that follow him. What is happening in society today is that the more a person is advancing and becoming more successful, wealthy or powerful in society, then the more he feels that he's unanswerable and unaccountable for his actions. He feels that there is nobody to ask him what he is doing. Sure, there is nobody to ask you, but how many people are imitating you? How many people are following you? He's not just ruining one life, he's ruining many people's lives. Shri Krishna is telling Arjun this fact. If such a question comes up in front of us of what we should do when the leader's ideal and the idea's behavior becomes negative, then what should we do? In the Taittiriya Upanishad, a guru says a very important thing to a pupil who is departing after completing his studies. Guruji likes the Upanishad so much, but his favorite Upanishads are the Isha Upanishad, the Katha Upanishad, the Prashna Upanishad, and the Taittiriya Upanishad. The Taittiriya Upanishad, and in particular the Shikshavali part of the Taittiriya Upanishad, is very beautiful. Guruji says that if one has noble thoughts and love for the Sanskrit language, then one should read the Shikshavali of the Taittiriya Upanishad. I have no opposition to what you're currently reading, but if one reads the Shikshavali of the Taittiriya Upanishad, then one's life will become a blessing. Tears come out of Guruji's eyes because this teaching is so important. The setting was such that the pupil was departing from the Rishi's hermitage, having stayed there for around 12 years, having completed his studies. The Guru felt that the pupil had completed his studies and was ready to go into material life. At that time, the pupil would fold both his hands and give his Guruji a donation. He would touch his Guru's feet and ask him if he had any wish as to what the pupil should do and how the pupil should live his life. At that time, the Guru gives him this message that until now, I have given you all these teachings and this is fine. Now what I'm going to tell you is going to be very important in your life. There are many mantras here and you would never have thought that they would be in the Shikshavali part of the Taittiriya Upanishad. Satyam vada dharmachara matudevo baha pitudevo baha acharya devo baha atiti devo baha sadvayan mat pramada shadaya deyam ashadaya adayam shitaya dayam ri dayam deva diya dayam. Meaning, different things are said here which you never even expect. First, never leave the truth. Never follow the path of untruth. Never leave the truth. Matu deva baha, obvious. See your mother as God. Pitu deva baha, see your father as God. Acharya deva baha, see your teacher as God. Atiti deva baha, everyone knows this. See guests as God. Guests are treated as God. Look at this. Swadaya mat pramada, shadaya deham, ashadaya deham, shiya deham, riya deham, diya deham. You'd never expect this in the Indian scripture. What does it say? The human race must continue. Someone asked Guruji once, why should we have children? Why should we get married and have children? It's our duty to have children. The human race must continue. And you'll be very lucky if you find this in any other scripture in this world where it says the human race must continue. It says that it's your duty to have children. It says other things as well, worship gods and give respect to the gods. Such short sentences, but a very important message. After giving this advice, the Rishi says that there will sometimes be situations where you will not know what to do in life. You have lived with me for around 12 years, and during that time, a guru is like a father to that pupil. Yajati Shrestha, meaning the pupil acts as the guru did, because the guru is a pupil's ideal. Yani anavad karmani tani sevi avani no rityanti, meaning you lived with me for such a long time, but now only follow those actions that you know that are right, and not those which you know that are wrong. You may even see something wrong in my life. I am a human being, and therefore I may possibly have made mistakes in the past, but do not imitate them. You should imitate all the good deeds that I did. The Upanishads never tell us that everything that respectable people do is correct, or say is correct. Just practice those things that are good in your life, and do not practice any bad things. Then the Guru says something very important. Atha yati te karma viki savavrud vichirat savasyat yetara brahman sambashi yukta ayukta aluksha dharma kamoksha shruyatya te tatra vartan tatha tatvate tatha. Meaning, when you see good things in me, then also put them in practice in your life. Apply the good things that I also did in my life. But if you ever have a question about what you should do and how you should behave, then there is no need to come running back to me. If there are any Brahmins near where you live and who are wise, then ask them. If there are any dharmic or righteous people, then whenever you are and whatever circumstances you are in, then you should act and behave as they would behave in that place or those circumstances. The gurus of that time were great. They did not desire a large following. They did not bind people to them and ask the pupils to always stay with them. This is a message that the Guru gives. You should act in the same way that great people act. This is how you should make decisions. If Arjun asks the questions that you're telling me what to do, what great people do, and you gave the example of Janak, as Shri Krishna did in verse 20, and in this verse as well, verse 21, yet people like Janak were around many years ago, then what about now? What if the historians and the writers of the Purana had exaggerated about them? What if it was not like that? Why should I believe that it was possible to live a life of non-attachment? How can I know? Shri Krishna tells him that if he does not believe in all this, then Arjun doesn't have to look far. Look at the person in front of him, Shri Krishna's life. In verses 22, 23 and 24, Shri Krishna talks about himself.